Okay, ist schon angefangen.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Markus.
Hi.
Hey,
Hello.
good to see you.
Hello.
Yep. Hey,
Hi
everybody.
there. Hi there.
And you see, we have a different kind of setup here tonight with the full studio,
Oh yeah, of course.
and we're this is just going to be another experiment in the series, trying to do it a little differently again. And just a couple days ago, I decided to stop living the dream after 21 events. Probably just a break for like a month or so. But anyway, so just there's going to be Gary Husband on the weekend, and the weekend after, I'm going to be talking with Asaf Circus, which is going to be very cool. But today is kind of like special, and of course special because I'm here with Benny Schäfer, who's my young friend. I met him in Hanover in the studio like in 2008 or 2009, and we started working together, and he's become like the main engineer I've been working with, and like dozens of albums that some of you may have heard. He kind of mixed or co-produced, and the same for Prog Noir, which has been like a life-changing event for me, that album. And it was actually started here in this very studio with Benny. Benny was around when it was started. Tony Levin, he actually visited Berlin, and it was early January. I think it was just after.
It was cold, yeah.
Yeah, just after the new year. And I remember picking Tony up in front of his Airbnb, and he was there smoking cigarettes. And when he saw me coming around the corner to pick him up, he suddenly he put the cigarette away. and it was so funny, because then he told me that his New Year's resolution for that year, I think it was 2016, I guess, was to start smoking.
Yeah.
That was like extremely funny, but somehow also it was like when we started the sessions, Benny just said it was very cold, it was dark, and it's really gray and dark and cold in Berlin in the winter. And Tony really enjoyed it very much. So even though Prog Noir, the album like Noir Black and blah blah blah, and it turned out to be like a little bit darker maybe than other stuff we've done before, but it was really like also a funny and happy time. And so I think the album kind of represents that a little bit, that there's this juxtaposition of seriousness and funny things and sadness, and so the reason why we're here looking at the full multi-track session, actually the original Pro Tools session that Benny and I worked on back then, is that we had, or especially I had, this sort of vision for the sound that required a specific or kind of like a new approach, or let's say it wasn't really new for us, but kind of an extension of what we had been doing through over the years. Because like my original vision for the album was sort of something that Tony, Pat, and I talked about, was to have more of like a comic or manga style vibe to it. So in terms of like the colors, the sounds, the urban feeling of it was supposed to be more like drawn rather than realistic. So in the production, what that meant was that it was really about finding new sounds and new ways of making this. Basically, I mean, this is something you need to know, that most of the material we'll hear are home recordings, yeah, that were like, even though we met here in the studio, it was more like a writing meeting. And then the most of the real parts were recorded at home, and especially Pat's drums. I think there were like some exceptions, some tracks that he recorded in external studios, and you can read that in the liner notes maybe if you have the album. And so the idea of the production was, first of all, to give it this special, like futuristic, urban, organic, dirty but clean, everything kind of sound. But we had also these sources from different recording environments that we sort of had to bring together. So, and that was kind of like part of the challenge. And you will see in some cases, Benny will show you that there, like on one sound, there are maybe 8 different plugins to kind of sculpt the sound in such a way that it really kind of represents what we wanted, and is also kind of part of the overall sound of the whole album. And so we're gonna show you the track Prog Noir today. Which, Benny, how many tracks do we have there? Can you just check? Yes, let's see.
It's about 45 tracks. I counted a little bit, so maybe in the original it was like 50 or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is like 50 tracks sounds like a lot, but for a modern like pop production, it's nothing. Like, you know, like nothing. Some pop songs nowadays, they have like up to 500 tracks, which maybe means like 500 different events, not necessarily you know, tracks that run through all the way through the song. But anyway, so I hope you have set up your audio movers, and we're just going to start with Prog Noir, just showing you just, you know, the original drum kit sound, or let's start with the kick sound, and then we'll show you how we treated it and how we turned it into what it is. So
I would suggest to maybe play the track first.
Yeah. Let's play like maybe half of the track. And this is from the mix, from the session now. So this is not the mix that you know. It's slightly different.
It's slightly different, yeah. But I will put the track size to small so that you can see the whole. This is the whole arrangement window. Just in case anybody's not familiar with studio work or how this whole production thing works. Actually, what you will see here, just as a basic explanation, all these blocks in different colors represent certain instruments. Like in the blue part represents the drum tracks. This one here is percussion. Then these 3 blue tracks are Tony's bass. The green chunk is all Markus guitars, and the 2 yellow tracks are Tony's vocals. So when the song is playing, you can visually kind of see which elements are playing. When there's nothing here, like in this parts, nothing's playing. So let's go for the track, right?
I'm not hearing anything.
The driving rain has washed our van in gloom once again. darker dreams are made. A world we call Prog Noir. I drink the wind, breathe the rain inside, try to feel its hunger for the light of day. A broken meter throbs beneath my feet, and it's real. As we navigate this night.
Okay.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, so some of you have heard this song probably more than I have. Well, not really. I've heard it live many, many times. But it's always like shocking to me hear it now after like a few years and having played it live many times. It's obviously grown and changed a lot playing it live. But the interesting thing is, like, I saw somebody asking, is that Tony singing? Yeah, it's actually Tony singing, and I think Tony has a good voice, an interesting voice, and he can, like, if he doesn't get into like some sort of extreme region, it sounds really nice. But this is an important anecdote. Actually, Tony had the idea for this song first, and he had written parts of it, and he sent them to me, and then I listened to it and I said, oh, it's great. And like it's an instrumental, but it could use some more. And I was about to kind of write something. And then he said, Markus, I have an idea. I'm going to send this to John Anderson of Yes. And that came as a shock. I was thinking, oh, wow, that would have been like, amazing, have like, John Anderson on a Stickman album. And John, apparently he was keen to do it, but he didn't have time or something, or said that he could do it in 3 weeks. And Tony got so inspired somehow by John saying, no, I can only do it in 3 weeks, that Tony on that very day wrote that melody and also the lyrics. And it's it's great. And some people say the song sounds a little bit like a David Bowie tune from Outside, from the Outside album or something like that. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree, but so we're going to show you now what we did here. So Benny, maybe you just start.
Yes. So I would suggest starting with the drums, maybe. So I will just change size here a bit so you can see actually all tracks. And I will play you first, I think, the whole drum stem, and then we can maybe dive more into a single track. So this is only drums.
And now that you're only hearing the drums, you can maybe already hear a few more details that we will point out in a minute. So drums are very much the backbone of a song. So like the drum sound, the drum group, everything is like so important to make something work. So it's usually the part of the mixing that we also spend the most time on. hear these extra tom tones here. Okay, then show the element.
So I remember what we basically
sorry.
did. Yes.
Where was the drum recorded? Was it in Pat's studio?
Initially, yes, but I think this was one that he re-recorded with a friend, with Mike McCarthy, I think. Okay. Like you can look about Mike McCarthy, Austin, Texas, is a great producer. I think it was re-recorded in that studio.
There were for sure different drum recordings.
Yes.
Because I remember I had some trouble like matching these different drum sounds together, because the whole drum sound depends a lot on the room, of course, where the drums are recorded in. So when you have recordings from different drum rooms, you obviously have different room sounds, and so it takes a bit of tweaking to get the drum sound right.
And especially because one of the reasons why we'd actually use a lot of what we're going to show you now is like this, what we call reamping or treatments, in order to give us material that we can use to equalize the sounds, you know, of the different songs, you know. So
So yeah, I remember when I started, or we started mixing the tracks, as Markus already said, we usually start with drums, and I think we had the basic like drum mix setup, and then we had this kind of feeling, okay, we need to add something. We need to add something more to give it like kind of a unique flavor.
Yes.
So to get some dirtiness, and just make the drum sound a bit more rocking than just plain EQ and compression and whatever you can apply. Yeah. So one example of this is I will play you the kick drum. The first track is just the kick drum basically as it was recorded. I mean, I applied some EQ and stuff, but this is the kick drum, how it sounds. And what you hear is there is a gate on the kick drum. I will bypass this, and then you will hear all the drum beat. See, if I take this out, you can hear the whole drum kit basically.
So this is just the microphone on the kick drum, and you can hear the whole drum kit.
Yeah.
So what Benny did, he basically cut out with the noise gate spaces. So then we get more of just the kick.
Yeah, all the kick, which makes it easier for the mixing process to treat the signal. So what we decided to do was, okay, we need some more energy out of this, and then we decided to do a reamping with this very kick drum, which sounds like this. This is only the reamp.
Sounds like broken.
Sounds like something broken.
It's supposed to be like that.
And it's supposed to be like that. But
so is that the digital effect? Sorry.
No.
Or
no, it was. We can't remember exactly what it was, but
probably subdivision.
You know, it was maybe something like this guy,
okay.
or this guy. Like we have. Oops, there's a telephone. So there we have this subdivision pedal here, which was like really Red Panda, which is kind of like a prototype. And I'm going to show you more pedals that we used here. But you know, when we have the opportunity to work in the studio, we try to not use digital effects from the computer so much. So we have like a setup where we have like two cables, one that goes in, one that goes out, and then we can reamp through pedals or even through a little bit through an amp, and which we also did on this album.
Which we also did.
Yeah.
And another important part is that during this reamping process, instead of using a plugin, which is like basically mainly the same sound all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You put it on the track and it does something. And when we did the reamping with the stomp boxes, Markus was basically sitting here the whole time and turning knobs.
Yeah.
So to have kind of a,
so like an extra performance on
yes,
top of the
yeah.
recording, and that performance then is recorded on a separate track, like you see here on the screen, like the kick distortion. And Benny, now play the two together.
yes.
So that you guys hear what it sounds together. The kick
Yeah,
drum with the
so this is kick without distortion, and then it's basically kick and snare
That's
on this
kick and
track.
snare.
So I will play you kick and snare here.
Yeah.
So I will play you the whole drum kit and mute the distortion tracks.
Yeah.
And then bring in the distortion, and then you will hear the difference. So this is without distortion. And now again without. And with the distortion. So yeah.
So and the interesting thing is, like when you're hearing it like this in the context of just the drums, you could say, okay, well, maybe you could say it sounds better without the distortion,
Yeah.
which is true. But in the context of the whole song, which is really using a lot of distortion, yeah. So the bass part, for example, which is the next thing we're going to look at.
Yeah.
Before we there's also beatboxes that Pat used, and like an extra track of toms and stuff like that. But before we do that, we'll show you what the original bass track was like, and then how we made that track work. This one is actually a bass loop that Tony played. So it's just like copies of the same thing over and over again. Right? Obviously live he plays it, but here for the recording, it was actually that one bar phrase that was looped, as far as I remember. So
Looks like it. Yes.
yeah, so just give us the bass.
Yes. So
you can also hear the which is in it, which I can't remember what it was. It was some sort of pedal that Tony used on the sound, some sort of filter or something. So you see, there's not, in a way, not much there, right? It's like low. It's kind of muddy. Yeah.
I have a question, because
Yeah.
you say you are playing the effects and making things more lively by
Yes.
showing evolution in the tracks. And now you just said that the playing of Tony was just a loop. So
Exactly.
what's the intention there? Because of course you could have played it live all throughout the track. Why choosing a loop for that particular part?
I don't know, because Tony did that, right? So I don't know what his reason was for that, but I think he just wanted this mechanical feel for it, right?
Okay, because you have this mechanical feel with the bass, and then you have a very live feel with the drums.
Yeah, I think that is kind of like an interesting juxtaposition. But you'll see that and obviously I don't remember, it's been 5 years or so, how, what we did exactly, or if I was turning the knobs on all of the treatments. But because it goes actually through a cable and through a device, there's always, even if it's just like microscopic, these changes, it really shows. And like Benny is going to demonstrate now. So now this really rather flat bass sound, what happens when he brings in the distortion?
yeah, this rather flat bass sound turns into something beautiful in a second. So this is with the first treatment, and we did another one, which is kind of subtle in the context. But
Can you turn it up, the third? Yeah. So maybe you can show them individually.
yes.
Flanger or something?
So this is which treatment, first or second?
First.
So this is just distortion. And like I said, like sometimes we use effects that are not meant to be used for distortion.
Yeah.
like I said, the subdivision, which is an octave pedal, but if you drive it hard, it just distorts and stuff like that. So up, unfortunately, we don't remember what we did because this is also like usually part of my philosophy, not to document a process, a creative process like this, to make sure that we're not always doing the same thing again, right? So not kind of get into this idea of having a template that you can apply to every song. So that's also why I love, or we love, using pedals, because you can't remember the setting, right?
Yeah.
It's not like on the computer everything's saved in the session. And anyway, so show us the other
Yes.
bass treatment, because see, this is
Oh,
interesting.
yes.
It's just like very nasal, like a radio mid-rangey sound, but it's the combination of the three that makes the bass sound.
Yes. So I played with the drums.
And so now you see that the distortion of the snare and a little bit of distortion on the kick kind of interacts with the distortion on the bass, on the stick. And now this sounds really good and has this groove to it.
Yeah, it has a certain groove. And now I will remove all the distortion tracks, basically. So this is what remains. See, compared to...
Yeah. So you see what a huge difference the treatment makes. Boring and
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
No, what's interesting is that it sounds like the bass is underwater when you took the distortion off.
Yeah.
It's like an underwater
Yeah.
sound. But it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
what's fascinating to me is that you're using a term I would use is like glitch.
Mhm.
You're using glitchy sounds like secret sauce in the
Yeah.
recipe, in other words, but you're subtly doing it, and it's crazy. It's wild.
Yeah, so the idea of mixing for me, and like Benny maybe comes from a different kind of school for that, but my idea is to add, like it's like synthesis, right? So yeah, like you have a sound, and then you create a duplicate, basically a parallel track which has different frequency content because it's distorted, or like any other treatment could work. And then you mix the two together to create a new sound that has a different spectrum. Like, and here what we're doing, we're clearly adding high frequency information, which just wasn't in the original. And so basically it goes from something that you say it sounds like underwater to something that sounds like it's reaching out to the sky even, right? Like it's really, you can really kind of spray the sound around by adding saturation or distortion or things like that. So, and this is really a very good example to like, it's quite shocking actually. It's the first time that I heard it this way. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's always important during the mixing process to hear these things in context. When I play you the bass and these distortion tracks on their own, it sounds ridiculous. But
Yeah.
when it comes all together, especially with this very high gain sounds that Markus uses on his guitars, so there's a lot of hot sauce in these tracks.
Yeah.
So these things, they compete all the time. There's always a big fight for attention. So and as soon as we will bring in the guitars, and maybe we will do this experiment again with cutting all the treatments, and then you will see how this all connects, because in the end it's the big picture that counts.
Yes.
And that's why I tried, at least when I'm mixing, not to listen too much in solo, because it's out of the context. This is if I change the bass sound, it has lots of effect on the snare, on the whole drum kit, on the guitar. So this is always one thing you have to keep in mind, that everything is connected.
Yeah, it's a very, very interactive way of mixing, and so really, as Benny mentioned, there are many other elements here that are fighting for attention that we haven't even looked at. And one thing I just remembered, which may be interesting for some of you, like usually when we perform live with Stickman, I've been using my looping setup that I've also demonstrated in this series already. And for this album, I just didn't want to do that. Didn't want to do any long delays. to create these atmospheres that I do. And I had this pedal, like the particle pedal here, which I can show you, which I discovered, and this also Red Panda, and this guy Kurt, who I really like, a nice guy. He gave me the very first pedal I think I bought, and then he gave me another one, and we became friends, and it has become the main pedal on this album that creates all the ambiences. And maybe, yeah,
Made and built in Detroit.
exactly. Yeah, and
Put in the Michigan plug, you know.
yeah, and I like Kurt, the guy. He was actually at one of the shows where you were, Mark. Also.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're going to show you like the ambiences here, because they're sort of important to set the mood very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and it's only like short, like this. I set this pedal like really short delay loops, super short. So maybe you can show them individually.
Yeah. Let's play them in context first, so you can see. This is basically they start with the song.
A driving rain.
Oh, hello, Tony.
Okay, so there are the 3 tracks of ambience here, and you can see like there's guitar ambience C, which I guess stands for center.
Yes.
Then left and right. So and Benny, can you mute or just play as the center?
Yeah.
So this is something where I actually like played into this pedal and created these.
Yes, and then we have.
And these are the other ones. So that we have these like more chilled sounds here, and then the one in the middle, just more sort of like a solo voice, right? In this section, in the intro and in the first verse. And then suddenly kind of it drops out. You'll hear now. Drops out, a little bit of reverb on it. Drops out when the next section comes in. But so let's listen again with, or maybe let's even go through the song.
Yeah.
Because there are some like this atmosphere repeats. Maybe it got just copied and pasted. Is possible. No, it doesn't look like it. No. So we recorded different kind of treatments, and Benny, just play this one here.
So this is the next one then here.
Next one, yeah. Ah, yeah. This is the breakdown after the first chorus. So what you can hear here also, that like these little snippets of sound that you hear on the left, on the right, they are not synchronized with the groove or anything. Like this is something that it's also very easy to fall into the trap when you're working inside the box with delays and stuff, that things are always in sync with the song tempo. But this is all free to give like this unsettling feeling.
Yes.
Unsettled feeling. Yeah.
Markus, you realize you opened up a new possibility here, a remix album.
Yeah, of course.
Like literally an ambient remix album, and have Tony's voice just kind of fading in and out in different places. This is a possibility.
We'll talk about that later, Henry.
Okay.
Yeah, I have something up my sleeve.
Okay. Give me a footnote at least for throwing the idea out there. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, let's listen at the next ambience here.
The next ambient part is basically the next verse.
Yeah. So yeah, so the sounds on the left and right, they're kind of like similar still. The one in the middle is different. Now it's also out of tune, like multitonally, microtonally out of tune, which for these kinds of ambiences is absolutely fine. So it's probably a combination of something like a pitchfork pedal that I used back then, something like a Geiger counter, which is crazy distortion, and the particle like that I showed you before, as as a delay. Yeah. So maybe that's just. So now this next long section there, where there's ambience in the background of the.
Marcus,
Yes.
sorry. When you
Yeah.
do this kind of stuff, do you do that by your decision, or do you have a I don't know, a kind of consensus with the other guys, or everybody does what he wants?
You know, in this band, usually I'm kind of the you know, Pat and I, we're the guys who do the extra sounds, right? So and since this album was produced, we you know, we had not played these songs live before, so we just really didn't have any idea. So it was more of like the creative process in the studio. And I'm actually pretty sure that even like these atmospherics here, they were recorded during the very first recording sessions when I was here with Tony, and Pat hadn't even recorded any drums yet. It was just a drum loop that Tony had, and so yeah, you need to know, and and this is something we should talk about at some point. But like, you know, we're really have never been in the situation to be in the studio together to record our albums. You know, it's like we're not rich guys who can afford that. Yeah, and especially me. You know, I'm so glad I have Benny here who helps me and who lets me work in his studio. Yeah, he's renting this room. It's not me. So, but anyway, so yeah, I basically do whatever I want, and obviously, you know, like they. You know, Pat and Tony can say, or change that, or we don't like that, but it hasn't really happened in 10 years of working together. That's and great. It's like I also wouldn't ask Tony to change anything.
Yeah, well, it's very bold choices, so it's great to hear that, that everybody's following everybody in their own ambitions or boldness.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like even like maybe Tony had a different vision for this album. Maybe he imagined the bass to sound cleaner, right? It's possible, but I think that we convinced him, you know, like creating this overall picture of sound. And this is really what music production should be about. You know, like some people, you know, like of course music production can also be to reproduce a certain sound that exists, but here, like as you see, like the parts are already so unique that they also need a unique approach for mixing and the production. So Benny, just play us, because I'm curious what that is there, because I can't remember. You see, so in the background of the verse and the chorus is actually
it's a chorus.
Oh, it's the chorus. So in the, like, you really need to pay attention when you're listening to the stereo mix to hear all these details, but here they all come out. And even though they may be just really a little bit too quiet to pick them out individually in the stereo mix, they add to the mood. Like you would take the noise out, let's say, and it would suddenly sound completely different. The mood would translate differently. And really, this is kind of like magical for us, and also just to find the perfect balance for these super dissonant sounds, right? And like when I play these parts, they are like improvised, like more like a free improvisation, like Derek Bailey. You know, I don't think about which pitch I'm playing or anything. It's just like it's pure expression in that moment. Yeah. Okay, Benny. So now this is kind of like we get to the end there, which is
the outro.
Yeah, just have a listen. Yeah, that's different here. So he has kind of like power chords. Can smell it in. Can you please mute ambient C? Ambient C? Yeah, see here. But it's these power chords treated with this guy. Creating this interesting arrhythmic out of sync part. Okay. So let's look at more Markus guitars, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the verse guitars.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the hook, or one of the hooks.
Yeah. Let's see.
Only play them the first track, please. Yeah. So this is the hook, just those chords. You heard that? So that was something like the pitchfork pedal or something that I had on my foot on, and at the end of the phrase I just tuned it up. You know, like
Sounded
they
Hawaiian.
yeah, exactly. You know, it's all of these details. I really love that. You know, it's funny. Like if you're listening to the mix, you don't really hear these details, but they all really make the music. You know, I find. And you see, like on top of that, I think we did 2 treatments on this part.
Yes.
And so if you're thinking, like I mentioned before, like this idea of like a manga style sound. So like these just imagine these pitched up Japanese voices or something, and this was like the idea to add here. And maybe don't know if it's the first or the second treatment, but let's see. Yeah, it's this one. This one, I think this one. Yeah, so you hear this? It's really broken. It's actually a pedal that's called C9 organ machine. So it's supposed to turn your guitar into an organ, but like with complex harmonic material like this part, like this hooky guitar part, it actually gives this broken high pitched sound. And then the other treatment, Benny, can you just solo that for us? It's just a really dirty distortion. With breaking up at the end and giving
pressure.
Yeah, but it's yeah. And you know the interesting thing is that these are the sounds that normally you don't want in a recording, huh? You're trying to avoid them, but we're deliberately adding them. And Benny, maybe you can.
It also
play.
It also seemed to provide emphasis to the one on the measure more with those other 2 pieces in there.
Yes.
At least when you listen to all 3 together, it's not really there in the first run, but it is by the end. It's there. The one is there.
Exactly. Let's listen again with all 3 tracks together. Oh, just the first track. And so I seem to remember, I mean, this may be getting into too much detail, but even before the C9 pedal, I'm sure I put the pitch shifter and I put a 5th interval or something on top of the guitar signal, and then that was sent through this because I can hear the 5th in there in the organ part. And all that is just meant to kind of add more overtones, more complex overtones, and create this interesting mood. So Benny, now play the whole rhythm section again, please. So maybe without the ambience parts. So there you go. So bring the ambience back in, and then you see now how this connects. So now the ambience part. So the ambience parts that sounded like pure ambience, now in the context with the lead guitar here, or the chordal guitar, rhythm guitar, almost melts into one sound. But maybe you can show that, just the ambience and the guitars. Yeah. No drums, no bass. And now you hear that the downbeat, the 1, is even clearer now with the ambiences in there, because the ambience part has the pitch information of the root, but also like the minor and the major 7th at the same time. So it's kind of like a really interesting sound, very rarely heard in music, in popular music.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Benny, what else do we have?
We have a small solo part in this interlude.
Yeah, can you play it?
Let's just see what this is. Yeah.
Wow,
Nice.
good. Goosebumps. Yeah, I mean, that was me. And you hear that there is this ring modulation that you can hear. It's like two sounds fighting against each other. And that is not a ring modulator. Actually, I used it was a fuzz pedal. Maybe I tried to remember, maybe it was this guy, like the Absinthe, it's called. Fuzz Hugger. Absinthe or AB synth. And in front of it, again, was like a pitch shifter where I dialed in, or you can hear that I'm kind of like bringing in a second interval with the pitch pedal. And can you just solo this solo with? Yeah.
Marcus, you sound like Sonny Chirac in Last Exit.
Yeah. And so then we have an effects treatment on this.
Yes.
So maybe only the effects treatment. Which is clean. It's like a chorus or something, right?
Yeah.
And together sounds like this. Just the two.
So left and right. And it's a double track basically.
Yeah.
So that's
now
also,
I need therapy.
Also stuff we do sometimes. You can hear that these two tracks, they're panned left, right. So this, probably during the mix we noticed, okay, with just one solo guitar in the center, it's not working so good. We have to make it left, right.
Yeah.
And then we create these artificial double tracks, which are like old school, made with just a chorus or pitch shifting by 1 cent up, 1 cent down, stuff like that. So
yeah, there are many ways that you can kind of like fake that a part has been played twice and then mixed together, right? So and yeah, this is the kind of treatment here, and then we put it hard left, hard right, and that way you get like more of a spacious kind of sound. So that's what treatments can do as well. So let's see what else we have there in the verse area. It's only the vocals now,
only
right?
the vocals here.
Yeah.
There is some more. No, this is second verse is the same. Third verse is the same. Yeah, that's on the. No, it's basically that's basically it.
Yeah, there's the power chords in the breakdown
part,
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's show all of the guitars before we get to the vocals.
Yeah.
So in the.
So shall we move to the chorus then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, let's just hear the whole track transition from the verse into the chorus.
Yeah, so I heard something here which is kind of interesting. It's a part that has been missing from the piece when we play live. It's not there. It's like what I would call a cello part or a baritone part that's in here that is, I love it, actually. So Benny, maybe just show what is on those guitar tracks, Marcus guitar tracks there. So one at a time.
So let me just... here.
Yeah. there it goes up an octave, I think. But anyway, anyway, so that's basically the foundation of the chords of the chorus, right? In combination with the bass, as we'll hear later. Okay, so now there's an affected version of that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, affected version, pan to the other side to create more space.
Yeah. Can you mute the one on the other side? So quite different treatment, right? So now in combination with. So it's the same part treated differently, hand part, left and right. Okay, so now let's check the other two parts.
One is this.
Mm-hmm. So this is the baritone part I was talking about. It's like a counterpoint to the vocal melody. So it's sort of a crazy sound, because what I hear is that I had reverb on the track and then it was distorted after. So it's distorted reverb, which is quite a unique sound that I love. And then there's a treatment of this one.
Yes.
Sounds like
Yeah, it's the up to the version.
This is reverse, probably with a particle or something, right?
I'm not. I don't think so. Maybe it was reverse, but what this sound is, though, I remember there is. I don't have it here, but there is a bass guitar synth pedal SY300. It's a small blue box. It's not here. It's a bass, and really, that's just what it is. So it's also one of the boxes that we use on every song on this production. And you see, it really takes the sound. And because it kind of like re-synthesizes it into something else, so it's less distorted than the original. And this is also interesting that nowadays you can do that. Like you have something that's super distorted and turn it into something that's a little fluty. I think it's a flute preset from that box. So the two together, now we have the distortion on in the middle, right? And yeah.
And this is basically left right spread.
Oh, okay.
Spread
So
out.
let's hear it together. Okay, great. So you see, like one thing, like remember the two tracks we were listening to before, they had like distortion both on the left and the right side. Now we have the fluty part on the left and the right, and we have the distortion part in the middle. So this is kind of like clever use of space, so to speak. Well, Benny, if you all play all four parts together, now you'll hear that it gives a nice stereo feel. And super interactive. Okay, so maybe let's add the bass now. So you see how all these elements kind of build the house that is the song, right? Like so they really depend on each other, and you know, like all this is distortion in my guitars there, now we have the rhythm section, like, or the drums that kind of like mirror that, or kind of lock in with that as well. So, but before we play you all the parts for the chorus now, Pat actually brings in a beatbox there. So from the verse going into the chorus, we get this additional element.
Yes.
Also wir wollen nur das hören, ne?
Yeah.
Sorry guys, sometimes I'm speaking German with Benny because I'm much faster. Okay, so we only want to hear the beatbox, please. This is kind of like a uniquely Pat kind of thing, like how he integrates these electronics and like here it has like the function, you could say, like between like a shaker and a snare, or a sidekick, or it's like this muted, wonderfully intricate sound that's also, as you could hear, changing all the time. It's not there's nothing static about it really, and it's beautiful when it comes in with the drum kit. So can we just hear the drum kit and the percussion there without bass and anything else? So now listen for the part to come in. Okay, so texturally, what happens here is that, like the bass goes just to dum 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 kind of part, and the guitar goes just to da da, yeah, something like that. So that means there's a lot of rhythmical space that opens up there in that section, which sort of like, the song could potentially lose its drive if the drums stay the way they are, actually. So he kind of puts another brick on top, let's say, right? Like a fine brick that keeps the momentum going there, right? So maybe Benny, can you play without the vocals, but the full thing without the vocals, going from the verse into the chorus, so that you guys can hear how the shift there happens.
So, da kommt das Interlude ja erst noch, stimmt, ja. So.
Now it comes. So you see, things get more, yeah, without actually adding reverb or anything. Like it goes, but at the same time, Pat goes. So to keep the momentum.
It's so impressive, for those of us who are Pat fans, which we probably all are. But to watch him do this live, where he tries to keep both beats going, which he successfully does, but he plays it with both beats going, which is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Pat is the greatest musician ever. I mean, there's no question about that. And it's just a pleasure to be working with him. Also, Pat is that's why I said musician. Pat is not just a drummer. He is an all-around great musician who's worked in studios for decades. And that's why, like, working on recordings and music productions with him is such a satisfying thing to do, because he really, really, really knows what he's doing. Like every single beat, every single sound slice of that fast thing, he considered. Like he would, if there would be like one little slice that he didn't like, he would cut it out, or he would reverse it, or he would put it in a different place. And it's this level of detail that, as you can see, kind of goes into like everything we do here when we're working on a song like this. So Benny, I'm curious for what on the ambient center track,
Yes.
What is happening there? There's something that
In
I
the
played.
chorus, or
No, ambient C guitar, the green
okay.
track. So
The
see what's
small-
happening there, what
small
that is.
part. Let's see.
Another just freely improvised snippet to give some some extra detail on the next one. Yeah, so there's stuff like this in there that you don't even notice, you know, when you're listening to the mix, which does not mean that it's not a good mix, right? So it's exactly this point that we need to find where we add the extra elements, the extra, you know, like I keep, if you know me, I keep saying this. I think that our subconscious is so much more powerful than our conscious, obviously, and these details, they all speak to us on a subconscious level. We may not hear them, but we feel them, and they are part of the experience. It's really important in music production to kind of take advantage of that. So you know, it should be, that's why, like, this idea of additive synthesis, like we add something rather than taking things away. Yes, of course we can take things away, but by taking things away, we have less material to play with. And here we have something that may be very low in the mix, but it kind of cuts through our subconscious and creates a mood there. So is that everything, or do we have? I mean, we have the vocal, but
no, there's some more. There's some more power chord.
Okay, let's just look at that
here in this part.
Oh yeah, these are power chords from my UA touch guitar.
Yeah.
So power chords meaning it's a fifth interval. So it's an E flat and a B flat together there, I think. So giving this open, like really powerful, energetic kind of sound. And what's the next one there? Is that also the same kind of next event on the same track?
Yeah, probably.
Let's just hear that. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Yeah. So it's that's kind of like the windmill kind of move.
Pete Townshend.
Yeah. Okay, what else?
We're listening to this. So there's some more solo parts.
Yes.
Let's see.
Yeah, so that's that little snippet, like one round of the chorus, basically, of this little bit of a solo, just like fifth and octaves, and with this interesting treatment, which I guess like we haven't shown you any plugins or anything yet, right? But like Benny, obviously, like his main task is, like, I throw these shitty sounds at him and he has to make them sound good. So you see, like here, this solo 2 part has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plugins on it. Yeah. And maybe Benny can show you how shitty it really sounds.
I don't know if it sounds so shitty.
So he takes all the plugins off.
Oh, yeah.
So almost the same kind of effect we had before with the bass part, right? So now if you hear the version that is used in the mix, it sounds almost like it's underwater or like this, you know, muffled. Yeah. But this is kind of like almost a general you know, like thing you can find in productions where the treated tracks, they have more treble, they are cleaned up in a way. Yeah. So because the resonant frequencies are gonna get removed. Do you have an EQ on there on this one?
Yes.
So like maybe you see like, okay, so this is just to remove like low end frequencies and high end frequencies. And then there is like this EQ that sculpts the mid range. Right?
Yeah, sculpts the mid range and context width again. And this is what I noticed while on many tracks we added distortion on the mix again. So this, see, it's actually kind of ugly distortion. We used a lot of that to make the sounds cut through in the mix. So again, as I already said, when you listen to it solo, it's not making that much sense.
Yeah,
but
in the context,
like.
Inaudible if the distortion is not on it.
Yeah,
right?
It's almost gone.
Yeah.
So this is of course also a part.
Yeah. So sorry, is the same plugins that you used 4 years ago or 5 years ago?
Yes, it's mainly the same plugins. I noticed that some plugins were missing, but only like 2 or 3 compressor or so. As my system, my Pro Tools system changed quite a bit, and with every you change the OS system, and then certain plugins don't work anymore and stuff like that. But like I would say 98% of the plugins I still use. Yes, of course. Yeah. Okay. I mean, this distortion plugin, I don't use it that much because it makes this kind of like ugly distorted.
But you only use it with me, right?
Yeah, mostly. So there are some more solo tracks, I think.
Yeah, that's. I love this at the end. So you see, there's 3 tracks of my guitar there, and they are all unique. I mean, it's 3 different performances, but layered on top of each other. So maybe play each one individually first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And number 2.
Number 2.
And number 3. Yeah. So you see, same idea, 3 performances of the same idea. And then rather than just, using one, we used all 3, and they're panned like left, center, and right. And can you show us the whole thing? So the idea was to kind of like have this dissonance, this microtonal dissonance that leads to that low note, which is in unison. And then at the end, it peters out again into some microtonality, really. So what is on MRFX2 there on top, where we just were?
Yeah.
No, ganz oben, bitte. Oben drüber, wo wir gerade waren.
Hier.
Oben drüber, ja.
Da.
Weiter oben drüber.
Da.
Ja, weiter oben drüber, die Gitarren.
Diese.
Yeah. So let's hear what actually happens there in the guitars in the very last section, in the outro of the song. So here, we still have this really complex harmonic information going there. Now bring in the other guitars, the 3 there at the bottom. So now you'll hear the clash of the microtonal guitars with the and then it's basically the fade out of the song there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now last but not least, we have some other solos. Okay, sorry.
One solo part
okay.
Missing.
this one was backwards, and I remember that I was inspired by Trey Gunn actually for this sound, because in the early 90s, his first album, which was released in 93, had this kind of sound on it with a fifth pitch shifter with the fifth, and that was kind of like my my homage to Trey. And that we actually have a whole song on the album that is dedicated to Trey. Yeah. But this was like kind of a little bit of my homage. I really like that sound, and it's just, you know, like even like if we call it solo, it's more like a paintbrush or a few paintbrush strokes rather than a solo, right? But you know, and yeah, cool. So that was everything.
Yes.
So I hope you appreciate that we're showing you everything, because like I think it's really, for me, it's a deep dive here. Deep dive. So 11.
11 is left. LV stands for Levin or lead vocals.
I guess for lead vocals. So so here again, you see there are 8. How many? 8, 10 plugins?
Yes, lots of plugins.
Yeah. So let's not listen to the effects for now. Just the. Okay. So Tony's vocal.
Here comes Tony. Let's see.
A driving rain has washed our van in gloom once again. We've sailed the silver road so long.
You see, what's interesting here is you hear how loud the delay is, right? The delay effect. In the mix, you hardly notice it if you don't pay attention. Again, it's another element that ties things together.
Away from light, we squeeze the night for life that it holds.
Okay, so maybe let's just show what the vocal recording sounds like. It's very, very different.
Yeah.
So you will probably be shocked.
Away from light, we squeeze the night for life that it holds.
Yeah, super dry.
We try to steal the thunder song.
Yeah.
So where's the compressor?
They're actually, let me see. So what I basically did was, again, here, this is just some EQ stuff. I used this. This is the first instance of compression. This is the second instance of compression. And this is, we have it here.
Oh.
And the third instance of compression. So,
A driving rain has washed our van in gloom once again.
So instead of using one compressor, that's doing a lot. I'm using 3 compressors, and every single instance is just reducing a little. So, and all these compressors, they have like a certain sound, give a certain sound character. And yeah, again, distortion, or this plugin, it adds like not so much distortion, but it's actually, let me see,
Saturation.
Saturation.
Right? Mm-hmm.
So
a driving rain has washed our van in gloom.
So that it cuts better through
once
in the
again.
Track. Then, another instance of compression. I forgot that. So we have 4. And then again, just small EQ corrections here, and then all the
delay reverb.
Yeah, delay reverb is everything. I put everything on the tracks. Sometimes, or mostly, I do it as an send effect. So I can treat it or process it on an extra track, but here we decided to just put it on the track. So what we have here, we have a delay.
We're living it. We drive along that blade.
Again, I think we've chosen the delay time just that it fits in the song, because there's no like preset of quarters or so and that's what I do often, is just listen to the track, maybe the drums, and let's do this. Let's play the drums and the vocals, and then find out which reverb works best.
We're living it. We drive along that blade. A counterline continuum.
So it's basically the delay effect is just for creating, again, certain rhythmic groove element.
Yeah, but it's not in sync with the with the beat though.
No.
So it's like an element that's used to tie things together by not sitting on the grid, let's say, sitting on a grid. And this is cool. I mean, like I think the difference is huge. If you're taking off the delay, like the vibe of the vocal kind of changes completely.
Yeah, it changes.
And also one other thing.
It's just like a drummer playing in front or behind the groove, depending on the feeling.
Not really, because like this delay is like it's repeating at a certain. So it's the offset changes. So it's not a specific offset. So and that kind of gives the life.
It's either a little bit faster or a little bit slower than the groove.
The repeats,
It's not in the groove.
Yes.
No, it's not in the groove. So, and it's not like Tony singing earlier or later. It's just the words that repeat. And so just to find a good timing so that it connects with the drums. So after the delay, so let's just listen to the vocal solo again. There's a...
We're living it. We drive along that blade.
It goes into a like stock Pro Tools reverb plugin, just to create a little more space. And what's interesting is the last in line, the last plugin in the chain is a phaser, and this creates this kind of unique vocal sound, I think, right?
We try to steal the thunder song. We try to steal the thunder song.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it makes a difference.
Yes.
Again, creating movement, and
it's silky.
Yeah.
And you know the interesting, like hearing this now, like the untreated track of Tony kind of sounded like dull, you could say, like now, especially in comparison, right? Yeah. But what you need to be aware of, that everything we hear now is in the track, is in the recording. And that's the beauty of being an engineer. You can bring out the character, right? Like the distortion in particular adds like or emphasizes the overtones in Tony's voice that are not emphasized by his voice alone. And it's that, you know, in a way it's a little bit like what we're doing for the whole of the song, trying to bring out the frequency content that is in there but that is not in front, and kind of like trying to sculpt the song or the sonics from the material that's there. And the vocal is actually a good example for that, you know.
Yes, and I remember we kind of had a hard time bringing in these vocals, and we tried different approaches and checking out different EQ settings and effect settings until the point where we said, okay, this works somehow.
Yeah.
And this is just yes.
Yeah. Did Tony have an input in that process or not?
No, not during because, like, you know, he's in New York and we were here in Berlin, and obviously we always send mixes over, Tony listens to them once, and if he notices something that he doesn't like, he lets us know. But that's about as much as he gets involved in this.
Can I ask you that when he sent this, he has a Universal Audio desktop sort of rig, and then he probably recorded in Logic, and so he sent you just stems. Was that it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think back then he didn't have the Universal Audio. He had something else.
Oh, okay.
Like really like I can't remember now what it was, but you know, that's interesting, because I think none of us, I mean, Pat has a really good recording setup nowadays with like nice preamps and stuff, but even like 5-6 years ago, that was not the case. So that's also why Benny, I have to admit, he had a lot of work with these tracks, right? Like we show this to you in 1.5 hours, but he probably worked on one song, I don't know, for a week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, and this is not like in commercial recording studios, you wouldn't do something like this. Also, like to really have the time to dive so deep into the sonics is something that in a yeah, like I said, in a commercial context, it's almost impossible to do unless some people have a lot of money.
But
so it's a good thing. Could you tell us a bit more about how you two guys interact when you do such a kind of such a mix in this kind of song, for example? So
well,
who's deciding, who's preparing, who's proposing, and how is the cooperation?
Yeah, I have to say that mixing with Markus is always a bit different than the stuff I do when working for other clients, because when I'm working with Markus, it's basically we produce during the mixing process, and the stuff like all these reampings we have shown you in a normal case, this would already have been done by the producer before.
Yes.
Mostly. So what we actually do during the mixing process is actually production recording work.
Yes.
It's a combination. Because when I work for other clients, it's mostly I receive the tracks and then I start doing my thing, just applying EQ and compression and effects and everything. But here it's kind of different, because during the mixing process, we were doing reampings and like sculpturing the sound during the mix in an even, like painting really broad strokes, adding new elements and stuff like this.
Like for example, you made us listen for 2 tracks of the same guitar playing with 2 different effects. At one moment there are 4 tracks of guitars, but it's actually 2 guitars playing. And 4 tracks. So this decision is taken between you 2 guys when you
together.
Together. It's always different. Sometimes mostly Markus provides me the tracks and I start working on it and see how it feels and get to a certain point, and then usually I play the stuff to Markus, and sometimes it's just like I say to him, I'm already happy with the track, and then he gives me input, or I say, well, I'm stuck with this track, we have to do something. And then we listen through the track and decide, okay, which tracks need some help, what can we do? And then it's
I mean, like, what is like maybe the biggest difference between us is that I listen from the perspective of the composition and Benny listens from the perspective of the sound.
That's right.
And that's a great combination. So for example, like when he says that I don't know how to proceed with this sound, then I say, okay, give me the signal, and I take a pedal, and I know, okay, we need more meat, let's say, in a certain frequency area, right? And then I generate that for him, and I know, because of my experience with the arrangement on a very basic level, so not sonically, but more like how the pitches interact and how the rhythms interact, I kind of know where something is missing in the frequency spectrum, and then I provide that to Benny, and then I let him do his thing with it, and mostly I say yes to whatever you come up with then. but it's usually it's almost as if I was sitting here and I play a new part on an instrument. That's what we do with the reamping.
Yeah, it's more music. Markus brings for sure a more musical approach to that, or musical solutions than
Yes.
instead of like, for instance, we said the drums are not working, and then we're not going for, okay, let's change the EQs, but let's do something with reamping or add elements to.
Exactly.
So this is really kind of a different working style.
Yeah. So I was originally planning to that we have like these 2 hours to do this, so we still have like 30 minutes, I guess. So we want to show you the last track that you haven't heard yet.
Yeah.
So before Benny plays it, remember that I said that we had this idea of these high-pitched Mickey Mousey Japanese style voices, right? And we put that in the on the guitar in the verses, right? It was this organ C9 pedal. Actually, did the same on Tony's vocal, and let's just listen to it. So on its own, it sounds really quite funny. So who would have expected that kind of sound? It's in there. It's in there. So if we listen to it with the main vocal, you'll hear it adds something really interesting.
We drive along that blade, a counterline continuum describes the life we've made.
Yeah. So I can't remember what the original volume there was, but
something like
it was probably not that loud,
No.
right? But it just adds this extra craziness that again adds to the mood of it, even if it's not immediately noticeable to the ear. So now that you've heard all these elements, you may pick out more of them than before. So Benny, now let's just listen to the second half or the last third of the song. And after that, we'll do a little bit of Q&A. You can ask more questions. And we have time, another 20 minutes, to look at another song that I thought was very interesting. So, but just, yeah, let's listen to the end of this. Ja, von da ist gut.
I'm living it. I crawl along that blade. The counterline continuum informs the life I've made. We're living it. Still learning where we
Okay.
So Marcus, what would be really interesting, I'm just throwing another idea out at you for something maybe in the future, is to have another session like this, but how you went about mixing the recording of Heartland to do a compare and contrast, you know, from a classical perspective.
Yes, I'm planning an event with Dirk, the producer, but you should know that Heartland is not mixed. It's not mixed. It's just recorded.
That's even better to hear that, because it's just that's great, because yeah, thank you.
Okay, so any questions? Anything you want to say or know about this song or in general?
Yeah, I have just a kind of a post question at this point. Did you do the mastering here? Did you send it off, or did you put it through Lander?
Oh, certainly didn't put it through Lander.
We probably
right,
did, but
okay.
then we decided that
It wouldn't
No,
work. Huh?
No, like the mastering engineer in our team, like really, again, I mean, like one guy with the greatest ears on the planet, Lee Fletcher, he mastered this record, and
Okay.
And yeah, like he's my go-to guy really for anything that's important to me. Lee will master it. He's kind of a mastering engineer in the way that we mix. So he would listen to this song for weeks, and he would make tweaks. He wouldn't just slap one treatment on the song. He would automate the treatment, the mastering treatment. He makes like everything beautiful in a way like that I've never heard anybody else do. Like it also takes months sometimes to get something back from him. Okay, but I take that for the quality and the emotional beauty also that comes out of his work. So and yeah, so that's you know, like with Prog Noir we did that. Yeah, it was really important to me.
Yeah, he did a wonderful job on this. The mixes, he made it much better.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah. And that's what we hope for, like, right? We don't even expect to do perfect work or something that really gels perfectly or something. Again, you see, like we're doing these treatments of the individual tracks, trying to bring out what is characteristic, but then we're kind of like in the end we're dealing, or what we're putting out, what we're out, you know, putting out of the system, the bounce of the track is just another signal that somebody else then, who has not been part of the process before, then looks at with completely different view, and also ideally a different kind of taste even, and then that gets massaged into the final beautiful piece of art that it is. Yeah.
Marcus, two quick questions. One is, you didn't do any overdubs while you were mixing, and because you didn't mention it, I just assume you didn't. Is that true? And the other question was, when you're reamping stuff, you're just going right in and out of the interface. You're not using a reamp box, or are you using, or do you even remember?
Back then we didn't.
I think back then we went straight out of the converter into the, probably we tried using a DI box, or but as Marcus said, I think we went straight into the
to the pedals, yeah,
into the pedals.
And
meanwhile we use reamping
yes
boxes.
Yeah, but I still have to say I like the idea to not do that right.
Yeah.
Even so, I really believe that making things not the way that they are supposed to be, especially when it comes to creativity, just gives like more exciting results. Like maybe the extra brightness that we're losing by not doing things correctly, Benny has then to fix later. Okay, so that could be like an argument, right?
Yeah.
But just the process is kind of like driven like let's use an old cable. Let's not use a new cable. Let's use an old cable. Like it even comes down to this kind of craziness. Yeah. But I think the result kind of like speaks for itself, and you know, like now comparing this mix, like the way that it sounds right now is really, you can see the mastering is like a completely an extra, a really, really necessary treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ingredient of the whole process.
I assume that the sequencing was done before it went to the mastering phase, and
Yes.
did the whole group agree on the sequencing?
Mark, to be honest, I can't remember now. But usually I ask Lee also, as an experienced mastering engineer and a music listener, also what his opinion is. Okay. And so my personal approach about the sequencing of the songs is that I want to make sure that the tempos are varying from song to song, also the key centers, stuff like that. Sometimes with Stickman music, the key center at the beginning and at the end is not the same. And so like all these things need to be taken in consideration. Pat is Pat and Tony are more old school when it comes to that. They simply listen, right, to different combinations of the songs to figure out how that works. And then usually I get Lee's input as well. So it may have been like partly decided before it went to mastering, but then there was wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So do you like the sequencing on the album?
Yeah, I do. I just know that's essential to really make the whole thing flow, and it does really well in this release. So
yes, yeah, exactly. And like sonically, it's so important also in the mastering to make sure that flow actually flows, right? Even if the pieces would work, in that order in a live performance, let's say, right? But since we cannot really ensure that, even if you're taking sort of like the same kind of approach, or to mix these, I don't even remember how many tracks are on the album, but like you cannot really ensure that things sound like they belong together, right? So that's a great mastering engineer takes care of that.
Marcus, when you're playing this live, how much of this is imported as stuff you're not playing but is played along while you're playing?
Yeah, on this song, it's these atmospherics, these little loops at the beginning. That you this Pat has that on a drum pad, and he can bring that in and take it out for the choruses. And I don't think Pat uses any percussion loops in this song, but he uses quite a lot of electronics in the intro with the head sonic. He plays like these wee sounds like that, and so those do not come from tape. Like we don't use any playback that is sort of like one chunk of audio, right? So the way that it is that it's usually short segments that are kind of looped, and Pat has them on his SPD drum pad and triggers them there.
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so but mostly we try to recreate the songs, without having to use the samples. But having them is kind of as really, or having the option is really great with Pat. He does that very well. So okay, so before we maybe just show you just a little bit of another piece, I wanted to say that so Pat, Tony, and I, we have been talking about starting to write a new album, but just the overall depression and strain on our personalities, let's say, that the current situation has brought, has kind of like delayed that a little bit. And we recently had a talk, and we were actually thinking of turning the next album production into some sort of show that it's just like something we're doing right now here. We would have a meeting like every week with you guys or whoever is interested, and we would kind of like document the process of the creation of a new album. I think that would be kind of like not necessarily revolutionary to do something like that, but but since like our community has been so important for us, we haven't been able to connect with anybody in person this year. And usually we play in front of, I don't know how many, 20,000 people or more. You know, it's really difficult for us. So the idea to kind of like turn this process of recording, writing, producing, production, everything like into something that where our friends and fans can take part is sort of, I think, is a great idea. And I still can't promise that it will happen, but this is our plan. And so for today's like donation, I think like maybe Sorin already sent you. There's a PayPal link where you can donate something for me and for Benny for doing this tonight. And also you can always help us by buying Stickman releases, obviously. I mean, Benny would be excluded there. So that's why it's important, if you want to support what we did here tonight, then please use the PayPal link and send something, okay? So,
Marcus,
yeah.
Is there a chance you could email that PayPal link out to us again?
Yes, I can also do that. You will also find it in the chat. I think I can post it in the chat.
Yeah. I saw it in the chat, but it might get lost between.
I hear you. I hear you. And okay, so here's the other thing, also in response to you, Henry. So Benny and we are going to bounce the multi-tracks. That means we're going to give you the multi-tracks, not for free, but we're going to give them to you on Bandcamp. There will be a release that will have all the files for this song. And I haven't decided on, how much we're going to ask for it, but it's going to be available. So if you want to work with this yourself and figure it out, we're actually going to bounce the sounds that we have here. So we're not going to give you the originals, but the treated sounds. So it means if you bring everything up in your DAW, you can recreate the sound, yeah, or you can remix it. So Henry, you could do your ukulele or balalaika version with Tony's ambient vocals or something, right? Jean-Philippe could do like a backwards version or whatever.
Sure.
Yes. Or Hacksaw will hack everything up, right? Or play drums on it, right? And
I'll bring the funk.
Yeah, you'll bring the Frank Lloyd. Yeah.
Funk.
So yeah.
But Secret Chief 3, they have done that on Bandcamp. You can find their some of the
multi-tracks. Yeah.
Peter Gabriel has done that for free.
I mean, it's nothing new. Yeah. But I was thinking just, as extra value for people who want to kind of like work with this. And we're going to put it up maybe early next week, and I will include a link in the next newsletter or one of the next newsletters.
Let's be ambitious. Let's be ambitious and select the best 10 remixes and then publish them.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a last look at another song, at a song that's has been really awkward for me. It's the song Plutonium that Tony wrote to piss me off because he asked me to do the vocal. And but I really think that this version on the album is extraordinary. And yeah, Benny's just opening that for you guys, and we're just gonna have like another 15-20 minutes here with this, just so that you get a little bit of a taste what's going on there. There are many different sections here, so you can see like this idea of reamping and like equalizing sounds and sections to work with each other was a big challenge here. And yeah, so Benny is starting the das kann sein, dass es nicht der gleiche Link ist. Schreibt da mal LTD 19 rein. So guys, we need to now check if the audio movers is still working. So, but maybe Benny, you can copy the link and send it to the chat. Yeah. So just in case it's not working anymore, you can find a new audio movers link in the Du musst unten auf das.
Ja, ich muss das mal. So, wo war das? Sag mal.
Weiß ich nicht.
Nicht, ne?
Yeah.
So,
So it's the first time that Benny is using this, and as you know, Zoom has its quirks. So even finding the chat window, yeah, there it must be.
Chat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Lots
So
of
just
stuff
send,
going on.
so you can, nee, aber nicht privat an alle.
Wie muss ich das mal? Chat an. Kann man da nicht sagen. Jeder.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Okay. So now everybody should see this, just in case it's not working. Okay, Benny, can you play it? Are you guys still hearing something?
Wondering about.
No? Yeah, sorry for that. So if we want to continue that, you actually have to use the new Audio Movers link in the chat. So everybody go to the chat and open that.
Warum macht er das jetzt nicht?
Weil es ein anderes Session ist.
Aber es hat doch gestern auch funktioniert.
Ja, aber wahrscheinlich, weil wir den Passwort eingetragen haben. Ja. So Benny, lass mal bitte was laufen. Okay, so we play something here so that you can check if you're getting something. Okay, it's working.
Yeah, I hear that.
Great, guys. Okay, so now here, so this, I took a lot of liberties here with Tony's stuff, for example, and it's not much in the mix, as you'll see. Like the bass, the way that Tony originally wanted it was really like sort of I don't know how to explain it, like more underwater sounding, like more muffled, really. Like the sound, you can play his original stick part, please.
Yeah.
And you'll hear, maybe if you take even the plugins off. Yeah, there you go. So this is how he wanted it originally. So Benny, bring back the plugins there. So change it a little bit, but then we actually put this distorted thing on it, which Tony really didn't like at first. But you see it sounds really, you don't notice it as an extra element. It sounds now as if it's part of the original recording, and it just gives you the feel of the rattling strings on the stick, and it has a much more modern vibe to it. Yeah. And so maybe play that with the drums, or show what you did with the drums.
Yeah.
So here we did quite a few treatments on the drums, I seem to remember. Ich mach den Bass trotzdem erstmal aus vielleicht.
Again, lots of just distortion tracks.
A lot of detail in the drums. That's in there, yeah.
So
lass noch mal laufen bitte. So, gonna play some more. Klingt viel leiser. Ja. Okay. So taking the distortion and the treatments out. So this is what the drums sound like. Now with the treatments. Can you show the individual kick distortion, for example? Okay, so that's added in with the kick drum. This is distortion on the snare. So what we did there, I think, was we used like a analog delay pedal. You can
this kind of springy.
Yeah, and you can hear how I'm actually like turning. So the sound is changing, and that's mixed in with the snare drum, obviously. So it sounds like. Without and with, yeah.
Yeah, there's another track.
Yeah, it's another reamping track of the snare or tomed.
Yeah,
It's like you got FM Einheit in there to help you out on the
exactly.
percussion.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
to make it sound more German, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is the chorus. Kind of crazy. Big difference.
Yeah.
So in combination
Power of the one. The power of the one.
So now with the bass, with the distortion, and now we get like again we get the interaction of the distortions on the drums with the distortion on the bass.
Ooh.
And what about those bombs?
Wrong button.
This would be without the treatments. Huge difference. So in a way, you can see here that the process was kind of similar even to the song Prog Noir, where there is this drone in it, which I played just from the very beginning, which is kind of like very similar to the one that's in Prog Noir. Again, created with the particle pedal. So here in the intro, it's only the bass and the atmosphere. And Pat is doing some sounds on electronic drums there. Those are rather quiet in the mix, but live he actually also plays them on an electronic pad. So Benny, show me what else we have there if you scroll down.
These are always the quotes, I think.
Yeah, but gibt's da noch was anderes? Yeah, okay. So in this very first section, there are all these sound effects that I played. So maybe Benny can mute those. So these are all guitar solo. Again, similar to the sounds in the song Prog Noir.
Yeah.
So all of this this crazy sound, and you see it goes throughout the whole song, that there are these improvised snippets of sonic craziness, let's say. Yeah. There's a lot of that. Yeah. And okay, so then what is kind of particular about this song is that there are these quotes Okay, so for example, for the first quote, which what is it? Camina
Orff.
Bugana or something.
Karl Orff.
Cue
Like,
Carl Orff. Yeah.
exactly. So that my parts sound like this there. Yeah. So and that was kind of like an interesting challenge to kind of tie these quotes into the song sonically. What about the next one?
I think the next one was Tchaikovsky, correct?
I can't remember now.
No.
Let's see.
No?
Yes.
Yes, no.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
And the third one was the Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
Benny, there's the MRFX3. Let's hear what that is. It's the fireworks. Exactly. So I did these fireworks sounds. Actually, Pat has that sample and sometimes uses it when we play this song live. So those are the quotes, and then we have the choruses left, which actually is all me. I think there's no Tony in the choruses.
No.
Didn't
So,
you have a
yeah.
Stravinsky in there?
No.
For some reason I was thinking there was a Stravinsky. Okay.
So the chorus is only me, like also the bass part. So let's hear this. There are, like, maybe you heard it, there are like really interesting treatments in that. Benny, maybe let's try to find the effects, not the bass, it's the let's just listen through these just quickly.
Yeah.
Du loops sometimes.
Also,
Sorry, that was a mistake. Yeah, next one. You see the different panning positions here? Next one. Different sounds. This one sits in the middle, like nasal, maybe. Next one. Here. So these are important. So same idea here again, like the Mickey Mouse.
11 tracks. How many takes?
It looks like it's always pairs. So maybe it's
like
10, it's 5 takes or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that kind of hearing it in this format right now, it sounds like The Residents. That
Yes.
little section you just played.
Yeah, exactly. That was sort of like my idea, for the whole record. Like in the end, like you said, it's kind of like these, really small doses of that, but it's all in there. And like if you listen to the album again, you'll probably hear this. Yeah. Okay. So so then like the part that I didn't like enjoy so much, I had to do the vocal, and I'm not even sure I want to listen to that now.
Oh, we have to.
Okay.
So
you see, it's all kind of like cut up in small slices.
The birth of a planet. It's not always pretty. Things can go bad when the sun starts to morph. So it was with the planet Pluto. Turned out it was only a dwarf. Cue the music of Carl Orff.
And you see, it's just that monophonic voice with a little bit of delay or reverb, both. I guess. And yeah, pretty simple. And but then it goes to the chorus, and maybe if you can just hear the chorus voices now.
Yeah.
Pluto, 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 plutonium, Pluto, 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 plutonium, Pluto, 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 plutonium, Pluto, 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 plutonium.
And again, maybe you heard it already, like we have the vocal effects. So those are mixed in with the real voices, giving this interesting change in texture and like also like timbral dynamics, I would call it. Yeah. Yeah, and so maybe let's just hear the chorus, just the guitars, my guitars, and the vocals, so without drums.
Lots of guitars.
Yeah.
Pluto, 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 plutonium, Pluto, 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 plutonium, Pluto, 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 plutonium, Pluto, 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 plutonium.
Okay, great. So there's probably more details we could find, but this was just another short one. So now that we did the first one, Prog Noir, you see it's much faster to talk through this. Yeah, and you know, as we're a trio, also like we're always trying to write music that we can potentially play live. So trying to restrict ourselves to a certain amount of parts. But then, like in the studio, we like to mess about with it. And I'm actually very, very happy with, you know, this approach that at least Benny and I have found working together to make things sound, you know, bigger than they actually are. Well, that's the way it's done. That's you know, like fake it till you make it. That's what they say. No, I think
it's fake. It's just another player.
Yeah, I was just kidding. I was just kidding. You know, it's really. I think treatments also when you have like a guitar and you put an octave pedal on it or something. It's great. You can kind of like fill a different role, and in a way this is sort of also we try to kind of represent this approach that things are not like final until, I mean, Pat says like the mix is only final when there's shrink wrap on the disc, on the CD. and he's serious about that because he can get super annoying with like wanting last minute changes and stuff. But here you have it. So this was like a small insight into Prog Noir. There were many more songs, and I encourage you to maybe go back and listen to it, and also maybe compare it with Deep, which I also love. It is a completely different production. Yeah, and so I think that's it for today. We've gone over the 2 hours. On, I mean, thank you, Benny.
Thank you,
I'm
Markus.
gonna hug him off camera.
Yeah. You
so
can hug me on camera as well.
So on Saturday, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to be talking with Gary Husband.
Sunday.
It's Sunday. Okay, yeah, it's Sunday. It got moved twice actually. Yeah, so it's going to be on Sunday, and I hope to see some of you again, and that's going to be very interesting. I will be trying to ask Gary some questions that like other people wouldn't ask. Also, like more in the like the more about his creativity and his career, and he's a very interesting character. And if you haven't heard him talk, that will be very interesting. And then on the Saturday after, I'm going to have Asaf Sirkis, one of my favorite drummers, on the show. He's also playing with me in my trio, funnily enough. Amazing guy. If you're interested in rhythm at all, you should be there, because we will be also talking about music education in rhythm. And yeah, so that's it for today.
Hey, Marcus,
Yes.
the video link that I posted on the camp website, and I think I put your name on there,
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen and Alan Holdsworth. I had no idea until 2 nights ago that they collaborated, and Gary Husband is the drummer on that.
Oh, really? Wow.
And that's why I linked you to it, because I thought you'd find that most interesting, because when I saw his name, it was like the icing on the cake, you know?
Yeah, they jammed for half hour, 45 minutes with Jeb Benson on drums.
Until 2 days ago, I didn't even know that happened. And that, I'm so happy, because I always wanted Eddie Van Halen to do something like that, to collaborate with the likes of like Robert Fripp or Alan Holdsworth or Pat Martino or somebody. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, there you go. I'm very lucky. I get to play with all those guys. It's incredible. It's unbelievable, actually.
What, you played with Pat Martino?
No.
Played with Eddie Van Halen?
With Eddie
That
Van
would
Halen.
be incredible.
No, not with all those guys, but at least the guys that we know, right? And
yeah.
And thank you very much. This kind of like was the experiment from like this new setting, and we may be doing it again. And as always, you can send me requests for albums, like stuff that, you know, like really old stuff, maybe things that Benny and I worked on. There's lots of interesting details to discover.
Falling for Ascension, please.
Yeah, Falling for Ascension was also mixed here in this very room, and is one of my favorite, the best sounding records I've ever done. I would say it's one of the best sounding records. And Benny likes it too, right?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
not?
I like it.
Yeah, he was really funny yesterday. I asked him like, how would you describe the sound of Prog Noir? And he used like a strange German word that I don't even know the English translation of, but it basically meant something like old and I don't know, like kind of old.
What is the German word?
Urig.
Urig. Yeah.
Ruhig?
No.
Urig.
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 U-R-I.
Urig, yes.
G.
Urig.
Urig.
Yeah.
Urig, okay.
You have to look that up. Okay, guys.
It sounds familiar to me from when I was in Germany years ago.
Yeah. we're gonna go to bed soon. So, you know, thank you everybody. Please donate, buy Prog Noir or whatever. And I'll be announcing the multi-tracks of this song of Prog Noir, and you can download it from Bandcamp next week. Okay? So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Ja.
Ben, Marcus.
Tschüss.
Bye.
Tschüss, Leute.
Ja, danke,
Bye.
Benny. Tschüss.
Danke, Marco.